Please, we are all. Yeah. Oof. Look. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, all. Here we are in Ghana at Society for AIDS in Africa headquarters. Today we are organizing one of our webinars, how to write best abstracts. And let me introduce to you the speaker of today. Is somebody that I don't need to introduce again because you know her very well. It's Professor Morenike Oluwatoyin Ukpong. She's a researcher at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. She was recognized in 2021 as the institution's top researcher, publisher, and ranked among the world's top 22 researchers by Stanford University. But the most important is that she's also a board member as the treasurer of Society for AIDS in Africa. Today we are having her as the guest of this session. And let me also take the opportunity to welcome all of you. We received 2,200 register for this webinar. And we cannot continue this webinar without calling upon our president, because despite his tight schedule, he make a time to say he will address this gathering. As you know, the president of Society for AIDS in Africa is also the president of ICASA 2025. And let me call upon the Honorable Dr. David Pagosese Parantua. It's true that to write his name is a bit tough, but to pronounce it is far better. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Luke. This is a very important webinar. And as you know, today, the 6th of March, 2025, we commemorate the 68th anniversary of Ghana's independence. So allow me to take this opportunity to extend my warmest congratulations to President John Mahama and the wonderful people of Ghana on this momentous occasion. As you are aware, Ghana is home to the headquarters of our organization, the Society for AIDS in Africa. This year, from the 3rd to the 8th of December, we'll be organizing the International Conference on AIDS and STIs. The first time this significant event will be held in Ghana. We are expecting over 10,000 participants to join us for this landmark conference. This webinar, therefore, is part of the Society for AIDS in Africa's ongoing capacity building activities, specifically aimed at supporting young researchers. It is designed to help you develop the skills needed to excel in writing high-quality abstracts, which are critical in academic and scientific work. I would also like to inform you that if you are a member of Society for AIDS in Africa, you have the opportunity to participate in our mentorship program. This program runs throughout the abstract submission period from the 1st of March to the 30th of May. It's a fantastic opportunity to receive expert guidance and support. Furthermore, I would like to take a moment to commend the African countries that have taken proactive steps to address the challenges arising from the recent cuts of AIDS funding by the US government. We believe that the current crisis should serve as a wake-up call for both civil society and governments across Africa. And we are urging us all to think about sustainability and ownership in our healthcare systems. Finally, I encourage you to enjoy today's session with Professor Morenike. I look forward to seeing all of you in December in Accra, Ghana, for what promises to be a truly transformative event. Thank you, and have your fruitful discussions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for bringing me on at this time. I also want to thank every single participant that has made the time to be here. Like they did note, it is a capacity building, and SA, which is the organizers for the ICASA conference, is invested in this. Today, I intend to go through over the next 40 minutes, giving the space for questions using this outline. I highlight the target audience for the session, introduce the session by defining what research is and the do's and don'ts of research, and then hone down on the content of what an abstract should be, which is the focus for today. Of course, to lay icing on that is also to take us through what to do when we're drafting our abstract and recognize the importance of abstract and why we should invest that time with it. It's very important also to understand the common flaws so that we can avoid that for this abstract and conclude. Once again, like the president noted, as well as Luke, the executive director of ICASA, as he did note, the call for abstract is opened. The conference is scheduled for December. While we are focused on building the competency of early career researchers in Africa and beyond, please note that we are also encouraging you to submit the best of abstract for the upcoming conference in December 6th to 9th in Ghana. It is also very exciting to note, like the president said, that Ghana is hosting it for the first time. But most importantly, Ghana would be a lens to look at West Africa for any of you that have not been in West Africa. Please take the time to plan to be at the conference, whether you're submitting an abstract or not, to enjoy the hospitality of West Africa that you've heard about. Nigeria is very close to Ghana, but you can see Ghana through Nigeria through the eyes of Ghana. You can see the rest of Africa through the eyes of Ghana. The session is going to be an array of excellent sessions. There's a second steering committee meeting to define what the sessions are, and we're hoping that your abstract would also help improve on our drive for domestic resourcing in Africa. Like the president said, you can see the plots. We are learning in Africa what it means to do things ourselves, including implementation research, and therefore your abstract would definitely help in this direction. We've noted about membership, and for those of us that are members, paid members of SA, you will have access to mentorship for abstract writing. But please look out, there's a lot more package for members. And yes, the society is launching its journal. Therefore, it's not just about abstract. For those of you that get your abstracts to the conference, you can be sure that it's going to be in our journal. Therefore, it becomes a reference material and the very reason why we need to go through this session together. This session is targeted for every single person who identifies themselves as a researcher. If you're conducting primary studies, you're very much welcome to be here. Whether it's quantitative research or qualitative research to inform the design of quantitative research, or qualitative research to explore the findings of quantitative research, ICASA is the place to be. If you're a researcher who wants to conduct implementation research or are already conducting and want to share your finding, you're very much welcome to the session. If you are a programmer and you're conducting M&E and want to learn how to share these findings with a bigger audience, please, you are very much in the right place. And of course, if you're a community member that has been implementing impactful community-based programs, including things like the CLM, want to share that finding with the rest of the world, yes, the rest of the world, ICASA is the place to be. You did hear very rightly that most times our audience is as large as 10,000. I think the least we've ever had, probably in the most recent times, is about 5,000, 6,000, and that was during the COVID period. So you do have a large platform to come and share your findings with the rest of the world. So let's go to the matter of today. Why abstract? Please do note that when we're talking about abstract in this respect, we're talking about the abstract of a completed piece of work. There are very many reasons why you can write an abstract. For this reference, it's about research pieces of work, and it is completed. You can write abstract for many reasons. You can write an abstract for a grant in terms of what you want to propose to do. But today, your abstract is developed after you've conducted your research, you've done your data analysis, and then you want to share it with us that will be listening to you in future or doing your future presentation. It is very important that you pay attention to this because the quality of your abstract or the things you do will enable us pull together sections around the abstract. Please note that although there's a call and there are tracks for you to submit your abstract to, that isn't usually the end of the day. Usually at the end of the day, we read. Multiple people read the abstracts. 3, 4, 5 people read the abstracts. And then it is called, and then it is pulled into sessions, despite the fact that you have also written them per track so that it can sync and tell a concise story. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. This is not the time anymore to write abstracts an hour or the day to submission. You have to start thinking ahead of what the content is, starting to go through it over and over so that you can get the best chance to be at ICASA 2025 if you are going to need the abstract to get you there. So what is research? Please know that research is a systematic investigation, which includes developing a plan, testing and evaluating that plan so as to contribute to generalizable knowledge. There are 2 key phrases there: systematic investigation and generalizable knowledge. And it's very important to know that that is why. Please note this, because when you're going into your research, when I'm going through abstract, you will be able to understand what I mean about the systematic and the generalizable. A systematic, you can't just come up and do things and expect to be parted by an acceptance and an abstract. You follow the systematic way of conducting an investigation and reporting your investigation. All right. So when we talk about systematic, it must be organized. It follows a formal structure. You also use appropriate tested methodology to generate new knowledge or validate existing knowledge. Okay. Many times this will require that you write a research protocol with stated clear objectives and get ethical approval for it. The knowledge you therefore generate from that process enables people to take from it and apply it. That is why ICASA platform becomes one of the most important places to disseminate the information you generate from Africa for Africa. Because whatever it is you've done is supposed to be generalizable. I'm supposed to be able to pick from it and run with it and be able to test it in other communities in other countries. But please note that when we're doing this and when you submit, preparing your abstract or doing your research, please, there are do's and don'ts. Please, before you start your research, obtain an ethics clearance before you start to collect your data. It's very important because you have an independent eye that is able to look through what you want to do, ensure the scientific validity and the ethical integrity of what you want to do. This is very important because you don't want to waste limited resources. So it's important to have the check to get you in the right directions before you go to collect that data, and at the end of the day, it's a waste. Please also ensure that when you're handling the data of people that give you information confidentially, handle it confidentially also. It must be such that you are not divulging information in the name of presenting an abstract in a way that the individuals that are giving you confidential information can otherwise be tracked. Please also conduct research to address an unknown, which means that if there is nothing known in the field, that is what you should be doing. You are answering a question. Usually in research, you talk about equipoise. That means truly this is not known. So generating research and investing in research to tell us what we already know is a waste of resources. So it's very important that we define the study objective properly. And of course, share all research data. This is why ICASA platform becomes very important, because it is a platform to enable you to share your findings and presentation and make the best opportunity of sharing knowledge with the rest of the world. When we're talking about abstract, we're talking about dividing it into 5 sessions. First, you would, it's a summary of the purpose of your study, the design for generating it, the findings, and then the interpretation and conclusion. In effect, when you're writing an abstract for a conference, there are just four components. Once again, the purpose of the study, which is how you start, the design of the study, which tells us the methodology that you employed, and it has to be valid, what the finding is, and then what the interpretation and conclusion is, just 4 sessions. Now let's start going into the body of the abstract. Please note that typically the abstracts anywhere in the world will ask for 150 to 500 words. Anybody that asks you to write an abstract of 500 words is extremely generous. On the average, what you find is 250 to 350 words. 500-word abstract is asking for a page single line. So it's a lot. So what do they want to find when you have that abstract? They want you to tell us, the readers, why you have chosen to do the study or the project. Project, if you're working on programs, community-based persons, or studies if you are primarily a scientist or an artist or a humanitarian person in a formal research center. So why? And then what did you do to generate that information, which is your methodology? And then what did you find, which is your result? And finally, the conclusion is what's the meaning of what you found and how do you want us to apply it? So in effect, you find 4 elements to your abstract. Your background, which tells us what the problem is that you want to solve and what does the program attempt to solve in the name, and that's defined very clearly as the objective. The next session is your methodology. And in your methodology, you want to find in that methodology the study design, information on the study population, information on the study location, information on the period the data was collected, information on the variables that you collected, be they outcome and explanatory variable, and information on the statistical method. In my head, I know every time that when you're looking at the methodology session, at the minimum, there must be 6 basic content. I will tell you why I've emphasized this, because you would see as I'm going through, I go back and the background, I noted 2 information. What's the problem and the objective? In the methodology, I've highlighted 6 information that you need to give. When you then come to the result, you tell us the answer to the objectives. And when you're doing quantitative, give data. For those of us that do qualitative, you wonder what is data. Please note that data is very important when you're doing qualitative. Qualitative might be done when you're collecting your monitoring and evaluation responses. Qualitative could be done when you're doing your implementation science. And for those of us that are community-based research, you collect qualitative data. But this data must be presented in a way that it aligns with the objective and tells a story. Usually, if you're doing quantitative data, it's not enough to tell us there's an association. You must show the evidence of that association by putting data, figure, P, the statistical values of the P's or the adjusted odds ratios or the confidence intervals. We must see this data to justify the evidence you've generated. If you tell us that the mean age of your sample population is 50, the only evidence to know that you truly did that is having a standard deviation. So we must see the data. Please note that this is key. When we're talking of qualitative investigation, you must tell us about data such as your teams and sub-teams, whether it is generated through programs or it is generated through community engagement programs. You must give us evidence of analysis by generating teams and sub-teams. And then finally, 2 things. In your conclusion, you tell us what the answer to your research question is and how does this work add to the body of knowledge. These are the things you look for. But once again, note that even when I talked about the 4 sessions, the heaviest in terms of elements and content is the methodology. We'll go through this as I go through my next sessions. Once again, remember the abstract starts with the background. No, it doesn't start with the background. The abstract actually starts with the title. But I'm going to deal with the title last because that is usually the last thing you will write because it's a lot of tweaking. The next piece of your abstract is actually the background. Please note that we use the word background, not introduction. Why? Because your background includes two statements, your introduction as well as your study objective. Once again, I repeat that your background only needs two statements, two sentences, your introduction and your study objective. The first statement is the introduction, highlighting the gap that the study is trying to address. If you recall when I said when you do research, you're doing research to generate new knowledge or to validate existing knowledge. In effect, there must be a gap for you to answer to do a research. It's not about just doing research because you think you have the time or there are people around you. It's not about wasting resources. It's about generating information to be used to address the next level. And people that come to ICASA want to hear the latest information that they can take from the sessions, the conference, to be able to apply in real life and make changes. That we definitely need changes in many dimensions in the responses we're doing. So the first sentence is to highlight the gap of the study. The second sentence is the study objective. Many times when we do research, we only do one objective, but rarely do you find 2 or 3 objectives. They're all linked together, but you must write it concisely. This is not the time to spend 250 words out of 500 words to write a background. No, this is not the place to do that. I'm not sure there is a place to do that either. It's just 2 sentences. Please note that the objective is very critical. You must write a SMART objective. Everything that continues after that is linked to the objective. Your method is linked to the objective. Your result is linked to the objective. Your conclusion is linked to the objective. So your objective has to be clear. Once the objective is not clear, anyone that is reading through your abstract cannot link what you're doing in terms of your methodology to the objective. It then increases the risk of your abstract being lost in terms of non-acceptance. So when we say SMART, we talk about an acronym with S meaning specificity. There must be clarity about what you want to do. For example, if I say I want to determine the association between socio-demographic profile of my participants and the HIV prevalence, please note that socio-demographic profile is not specific. Because when you're talking about socio-demographic profile, there are about 42 variables that constitute socio-demographic profile. And we are definitely sure you're not doing the 42 variables. You probably are doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables. Please list them to be specific. In that way, I would, as I'm looking, know what is the appropriate measure for each of the variables. Once again, S stands for specificity. There must be clarity about what you're doing. Do not tell us I'm looking at the association between socio-demographic profile and HIV prevalence, and at the end of the day, all you're looking at is sex and age and socioeconomic strata. It becomes a problem because if I'm reviewing, I wonder, why aren't you looking at rural-urban differences? Why are you looking at marital status? Why aren't you looking at age indices? And then you keep telling me, oh, that's not what I want to look for. But you did not specify it. Remember, you're not going to be there to defend your abstract. So therefore, please be specific. Specificity allows whoever is evaluating to match your objective with your instruments for measure. The second thing about the SMART is M, measurability. Please be sure that you're using the right study design in terms of what you want to measure. The instruments that we use to measure are usually statistical instruments that you use to measure. You might want to explore, you might want to do an association, you might want to do trends, you might want to do correlation, you might want to do a systematic review. You let us know what instruments are used. So you cannot, for example, say you want to explore the thoughts of people and then you do a quantitative research. It doesn't match. And you cannot be determining an association and doing a qualitative research. So your tools of measurement must be clear. Please know that when you're talking about measurements, it's not about relation. Relationship is not measurable. Relationship is just describing every single things I've talked about, whether it's trend, whether it's correlation, whether it's analysis, association, whether it's, impact, whether it's effect. These are all measures that you want to do, not really, they're all forms of relationships. So you must be specific on the measure you want to do. I also do tell people that when you do the measure, it also tends to lead us to what you're doing. For example, you tell us that you want to do an impact assessment. You want to see the impact of COVID-19 on the uptake of HIV testing. That tells any reviewer that you have collected data over 5-6 years. So you cannot tell us you want to measure the impact of COVID-19 on the uptake of HIV testing, and all you did was a cross-sectional study. It doesn't tally. So the issues that you say, that what the items that you want to measure tells us the tool that you want to use. It's also very important for the A that whatever it is you want to do is achievable. And the kind of thing I tell people is, in my own country, Nigeria, you may know that Nigeria has over 300 ethnic groups. We are a diverse population that is being brought together. And then I tell you, I want to look at the impact of ethnicity on HIV testing, on the uptake of HIV testing. I will tell you that that's not feasible for a Nigerian study, because you cannot measure the impact of 360 ethnic groups on, you're going to do that study for the next 15 years and probably not even gotten through what you wanted to. Okay, but maybe you can do impact in the US, where it's the ethnic groups are just divided into Black, whites, and Hispanics, or maybe in Kenya, where everybody is Swahili, or in Rwanda, where you have 2-3 ethnic groups. But in there, so just an example of what is achievable. People look at this thing, what can you achieve? The next thing about your study objective is reliability. What is it that you use to measure the things you want to measure in a way that is reliable? Reliable means that if I do it again in the same context and at the same time, I should be able to get the same result. Many times, many of us just wake up and develop instruments and start to measure. No. For you to use an instrument to measure a phenomenon, you must have shown evidence that that instrument is not only valid, but reliable. And there are scientific ways to generate evidence that the tool is reliable as well as valid. For a quantitative instrument, you must have done the content, validity, construct validity at the minimum, and you would have done the reliability assessment. Those are the minimum. There are other ways of more intricate ways, more robust ways of talking about the validity of an instrument. So in effect, you can't wake up and just use an instrument. If you are doing qualitative research, your instrument, which is your study guide, your interview guide, you also must have tested by pilot testing it to be able to know that the information you need to generate from that instrument will be valid. Valid because you're going to either do a deductive or inductive analysis of what you want to do, and whatever is generating must be able to answer the research question. And finally, when we talk about it, there must be time bound. The information must be generated within a time frame. So for example, if you generated an information before COVID time, you definitely know the validity of that information. After the COVID time, it's definitely different. So time matters to let us know the context in which they find it becomes relevant. So SMART, once again, it's specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, as well as time bound. Once you have, it takes that thinking to go through what you have in terms of your objective. The next part of your abstract is the method. Once again, recall what I said, your abstract must have 6 information at the minimum. The very opening sentence must be your study design. A study design is not quantitative or qualitative or mixed method. It is not a study design. In the quantitative arm, you have various study designs. In the qualitative arm, you have various study designs. If it's quantitative, it might just be a survey, a descriptive, or it might be cross-sectional, or it might be a clinical trial, it might be a cohort study, it might be, even the clinical trial, and very specific clinical trials, randomized clinical trial, non-randomized, quasi-experimental. If there is a study design, it has a name. In the qualitative, it also has a name. It might be phenomenological, it might be ground theory, it might be case study, it might be, it has a name. So please name it. Name it. It has a name. It's not quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. The next thing you want to see there is your target population. What is the population you are included in your study. And the next thing is your study location. Then the fourth thing that you want to look for is the date when the data was collected, the time period. This is very important in your abstract. Then the next thing is to include your study variables. It's not all the time. If you don't have space, you don't need to define them in terms of how they were collected. For example, when I talk about age, I will say age at last birthday. When I say sex, I collected my sex as bivariate male and female, or I collected it as male, female, or intersex, or I collected gender and allowed for all the variables of gender. I can, if I have space, I define all of them there. But at the minimum, you must show the variables that you collected. And then next, you must talk about the statistical analysis tool. This is not about talking about Stata or EpiInfo or HAR. It's about talking about the tool you use for your analysis. If you're doing quantitative, you would tell us if you did a logistic regression, a chi-square, and ANOVA multinomial regression. You let us know what it is that you did in terms of your tool you used for your analysis, because we need to define whether it's the appropriate tool or not. If it's qualitative, we have to know what it is that you did. Did you do an inductive analysis? Did you do a deductive analysis? Did you do a ground theory-based analysis? We need to know what it is. Please ensure that the details of the methodology is comprehensive. Please note, this is how I rate methodology. This is the beginning and end. Once an abstract is going to be rejected, it comes from methodology. Once an abstract is going to be, once a paper is going to, your abstract is going to go, it's the methodology. And why? If you have a score of 5, 1 will go to your background, 2.5 will go to your methodology, 1 will go to your results, and 0.5 will go to your conclusion. Because everything is the methodology. The validity of what you're producing is from the methodology. So the bulk of the mark goes to methodology. So if you fail on methodology, there's no way you can really pass through when you really think about it. So please put time and effort in writing that methodology in a way that is comprehensive, yet concise and clear. The next thing after your methodology is the result. The first information in your methodology, in your results section, is the sample size. If it's quantitative, what is it in the, if it's qualitative, how many people did you interview or deal with? How many focus group discussions did you run through? The next thing you want to know is a description of the variables that you've listed in your methodology, and then tell us the outcome. The result is, what is it? What is the answer to your objective in terms of data, not in terms of interpretation, in terms of data. Once again, I say and encourage you, put the figures. If you did a mean age, put the age and the SDI. If you did logistic regression, please put the adjusted odds ratio, including the confidence interval and the p-values. Please put the figure. Do not just say that you got this. And ensure once again that you are focused. Answer the study objective. If there are very interesting things you find, it is not in the abstract to discuss it. You can discuss it during the main presentation once you get called to come present, either by oral or by poster presentation. Please celebrate when you get called. It's a tough process. I've been in those spaces in many conferences about this selection. If you get your abstracts selected, please celebrate it. It's a big deal. And I'm congratulating every one of you in advance. So once again, the result is brief. Just give us information about your sample size, give us descriptions of your variables, especially your inferential analysis, include details about what you did in a way that you are sure it's not guesswork, but that you actually touched and did an analysis. The final thing is your conclusion. It's just 2 statements. The answer to the study objective and the recommendation that you get based on the evidence that you generated. I want to emphasize the recommendation based on the evidence. For example, assuming my objective was to determine the association between age as well as prevalence, HIV prevalence, and I found an association. So that is that there's an association based on prevalence. My recommendation should be about that. What can I do to address the association between age and prevalence? If I'm seeing that as the age increases, the prevalence of HIV increases, I might want to recommend that things be done at various age groups. I can't be recommending something extraneous like Sorry, I didn't prepare an example for this. Don't do something extraneous that has nothing that is derived from the abstract. That's one of the commonest mistakes you find with abstract. Doing something like, oh, my age is related to prevalence, and so we must ask mothers to stop giving birth. What has that got to do with what you found? You can only make a recommendation based on what the evidence you generated, not an assumption of how to address that. Okay. And then you come to the last piece, which is your title. This is the last piece, but it appears first. And you have to spend time with it. Usually when you write a title, you should have information about the study design, the variable, the population where it was done. But as different from what you do for manuscripts, you have to make this funky and attractive so that somebody, at least the title first gets me to want to read it. Don't make it a boring academic title. Read funky. What's love got to do with it? Things like that. Then somebody will stop to read the abstract. And then I just might be interested and want to come to listen at your session. So make it attractive. Make people want to read the content. If it's boring, if it's not, if it's, just plain, you might lose interest despite the essence and the beauty of what is in your abstract. So what goes into drafting of the abstract? Please make sure that the subject of interest is significant. It's not just enough to write an abstract. That's not all about. You must be addressing something significant, something of an issue. For example, right now, domestic resourcing for health, for HIV is a big deal. Do contemporary things, SDGs, universal health coverage, and the likes, the adolescent health, sexual and reproductive health, maternal and child care. There are things that are topical. It helps. Not that everything is not important, but it helps to give you attention. So look out for subjects of significant ideas and show your results always addresses the objective. I can't overemphasize that. And your conclusions is also derived from your results. Please note that abstracts will not be read without the rest of the report. So that your abstract is read without the rest of the report. So the abstract must be in itself a complete detail of what it's expected to be in the report whenever you're presenting either as poster or oral. It's an independent, referenceable material. So make it as comprehensive as possible. In effect, when you're writing your abstract, please summarize it. You summarize the purpose, the methods, the findings and conclusion. You lay emphasis on different points of your study of interest. The big deal that you find are going to present, let it be there in the methodology. One of the things I tell people in the piece of information in the background is like problematize the problem. So the background statement is just one line, or problematize it, make it be known and seen to be important. Okay, and please do not refer in the abstract to information that you would not present. Don't include abstract information in the abstract. And when I come to the session, you're not talking about it. Okay, so that's why you must have finished the paper, you must have finished the research before you write your abstract. And please, once you are drafting the abstract, as much as possible, use active language rather than passive languages. Okay, so avoid using the first of I, we. In addition, whenever possible, use the active language like the study tested rather than it was tested or I tested in the study. Okay, I use active language as much as possible. If you do have space, avoid acronyms. Many people usually misinterpret acronyms. It is true, that you use the main words and then define, but as people are reading, it's not so easy all the time to keep going up and down. I might just interpret an acronym based on what I know, and it might be wrong interpretation. If you do have space, avoid acronyms, abbreviations, or symbols. But if you have to, do. But if you don't have to, avoid it. And also, please be conscious of non-evaluative languages in your abstract. Report and not comment. Don't do things like, unfortunately, only 3 girls, or unfortunately, the sex workers, or sadly. Those are judgmental languages. Just report your results and let me, the reader, decide to judge whether it is good or bad, or right, good, or, don't judge, don't use judgment statements. it's not the place to comment. It's when you're writing your full paper and you want to submit to the ICASA journal, remember, ICASA is going to have a journal. So please plan for your abstracts and think through the full manuscripts that will go into the ICASA journal and the SAR journal. So think about it. And when you're thinking about it, you can start practicing. Don't use judgmental languages. Don't use languages that dichotomize and say they need help. So it takes training, and that's why you can't write at the last minute, because you will share with others who can read and detect this and be able to comment on it. And then write. One of the other things that becomes very important in terms of comments that otherwise should be found in the discussion is the summary of your results. For example, when you do a study and you got 23.3%, please report 23.3%, not 1 in 4. 1 in 4 is a comment. 1 in 4 is a conclusion and a rounding up. That is very appropriate in your discussion, but in your result, it is 23.3% that you got. Report it as that. It is very important also, you'll be asked to write your keywords. This is very important for indexing. The conference brochure might have to index and put those things at the back. The journal will be publishing your abstracts. You should be excited about this. And those keywords also allow for indexing. When you write in abstract, once again, the background is very important. I keep emphasizing the first sentence. It's just one sentence. You can't write 5 sentences. You don't have the luxury of that space. It is concise, one sentence that eases us in the topic. That is why you tell us what the problem is. You problematize the problem. And then I am interested in wanting to find more. As much as possible, ensure that your abstract addresses the themes of the conference. You will have themes. You will have access to the themes. It's already there online. Please address the themes, and that way it's easier to sort your abstract where it should be. Usually, you're not there when this meeting happens, but usually at the conference abstract sorting stage, you find out that people are looking, oh, this abstract doesn't, although you said it is for this team, it isn't fitting this team. And then people start walking around and say, oh, might you be interested? Might you be interested? The problem is if there's nobody picking up, it's lost. It goes to reject, or if there are people who really take time, it can go into poster, but you're losing the opportunity of it being properly evaluated once it is in the wrong team, once it's not matching. So please take time to identify the team that appropriately matches your abstract. A well-written abstract often ensures wide publication. Usually, people do in reference abstracts. So just spend time. It's not a joking thing, it's major. And it attracts people for the conferences. You know what people do for conferences? Before the conference, they will sit down with the abstract book. They will tick the abstract they want to listen to, and then they go to that session. If it's not properly written, you would have little audience who wants to come to listen to you. So think about doing it well. It allows people to be interested in a longer walk in terms of addressing the issue. But actually, one of the things that also happen is that you might attract people who want to work with you on the longer term and say, oh, I've been working on this issue in Europe, and I've been wanting to have a partner in Africa. They come after you. So take time is what doing every single thing I have noted. Believe me, you can imagine the investment of an hour talk in a 300 abstract words. It's a lot. All right, please note that you have to write your abstract well, because the primary readers are the reviewers. You all can only present your abstract if it's accepted. So you must impress the reviewers, and then the journal readers. Once again, SAR's going to have a journal. I'm going to read your abstract, and then they always want to come back to get the space for information to share on ICASA platform. Once again, it is the largest platform, not only in Africa, but around the world. A platform where 10,000 people come together is huge. And like I said, even on the worst of days, we have 4,000. A platform of 4,000 is huge. To get 10,000 people listening, reading your abstract is a major sell. So give Give it the best shot and get yourself in that space. Ensure that your abstract tells a story. Use simple English. Use transitioning phrases so that the next sentence links to the other. Make somebody want to read it and want to listen to you. Ensure that the methodology is appropriate for the study objective and the result provides the information that addresses the objective, and then the conclusion addresses the objective of the study. It's a story. Each section is 4 sections, but they all link and they are telling a story. Just to discuss a few flaws. The most common flaw I have observed is the abstract does not contain quantitative results when you do a quantitative study. So you say age, and you say the mean age is 50 and there's no standard deviation. I can't believe you that you actually press a computer to calculate that, because if you did, there would be a standard deviation. I can wake up and say my study participant is 100, the mean age is 20. I can wake up and do that without having a data set. Okay, so that's one of the common flaws I have found. And conference committees also want to read that result and judge if it's of interest to the participants. In the absence of that result, there's nothing to base a judgment on. Do not write the paper will present the results of the finding. That's the end. You're not going to get a space. Write the results. Don't tell us you'll be presenting it when you have a space. You won't have a space. You won't have a space. So present it. That's why abstracts are summaries of the work you have done. Okay. The second major flaw, so I find, is the conclusion. When many people make concluding statements that are not derived from the study methodology or results. So your conclusion must speak directly. Your recommendation must speak directly from the data you generated. You cannot make recommendation extraneously from what you did not do. And do not refer extensively to other works. Please note that your abstract is not discussion. Your abstract does not include discussion. Do not add information that is not contained in the original work in the result and the conclusion. Do not define terms in the abstract. You don't truly have that space. Do not include data in the results section. So you have done your results. The result is the result. You report on the results, but it must address the objective. If there are results that are not addressing the objective directly, don't waste that space. Do it directly. For example, I want to test the association between use of antiretroviral drugs and skin reaction. This is not the place to start talking about age, sex, social demographic, marital status. No. Maybe in the main body, you can describe those variables. The variable you're talking about here is antiretroviral drug use and dermal outcomes, itching in the skin or blisters on the skin. That's what you want, and that's what you write. That's not the place to start writing all the others, extraneous things. And also do not conclude using information that you did not garnish from the result. You must speak to the result. And before I move on to the next slide, one of the things I also find very common is for you to have 500-word abstracts, which is unusual. You get 300 for most times. ICASA is very generous when it goes to that 500. I'm not sure what the position is. I think they want to reduce the net going forward, but it's that generous. You don't have 500 words and use 250 of the words for background. That's one of the commonest errors I've seen. Your background is just 2 sentences, the problem statement and the objective. But then you spend half, and then the methodology is just 2 sentences, and then you spend another half page writing the result. This is something else I also find very common. Finally, please note that for many Africans that you're here, English is not your native language, but you have to write your abstract in English and French. So the French session is coming up on the 21st of March. For those of you that are French in here, hold on, and you're going to have the same session repeated in French on the 21st of March. So whether you're writing English or French, it's not your native language. If you're an African, give it to somebody that can read it and edit for you. Okay, so for many, writing good English is a challenge. Please, because English is not your first language, you are okay, you're perfect, is okay, but you must acknowledge that this is a problem and get professional help. Use AI judiciously and ethically. AIs can help you to do the grammar check, the punctuation check, improve the fluency of your words. once again, use ethics, AI ethically. Do not generate an abstract with an AI and submit it to ICASA. It will not pass by. It will not pass. Okay, so if you do spend time doing your grammar, it can reduce the risk of your manuscripts being rejected. This is not about idea is need. Let me just pass the idea. Instead, once the idea is there, they will take it. It won't pass, so it won't pass. In conclusion, please know that well-written abstracts get top scores. We do score abstracts, and the top ones go. This is one of the reasons I go there. We receive huge amounts of abstracts, and there's only amount of space that can be accommodated, be it oral or be it poster. Every year we continue to expand the number of spaces that it's possible to get this high quality abstracts that you bring. Unfortunately, we don't have the space. Therefore, it is the top ones. I was shocked last year that even those as top as 4 out of 8, ICASA scores 6. For the ICASA conference, our maximum score is 6 and the lowest is 0. Even as top at 6, we couldn't accommodate. So you must do well. You must do well. Okay? We would do all we can to accommodate everything, but it's not possible all the time. Top scores increases the opportunity of sharing your research finding with the 10,000 people platform. And this 10,000 is very possible with ICASA because we do hybrid. There are people listening physically, there are people listening online. It makes it a huge audience for us. And public engagement with this abstract presentation conference is a powerful tool for career development and career advancement. Are you an early career researcher here? ICASA is the place to be. You network, you get ideas, you meet new people. It's a game-changing opportunity. I am a testimony of a positive outcome of attending ICASA conference. It's therefore important to invest in this process of making yourself and your work visible. These are my references. Before I leave, please note that for those that speak fluently in French, please note that there's a session coming up. And here I go to parler français. Bon, rendez-vous le 21st of March 2023 pour la session en français. I tried. All right, guys. See you for the next session on the 21st of March. If you do have questions, I'm looking forward to listening to your questions. Thank you very much. Okay. How am I doing well on doing on time? Okay.
Hello, Prof. Thank you so much for your powerful presentation. If we're in the room, I will say that we should give you a hand of applause, because we have been witnesses here at the ICASA and saw a lot of your presentation in terms of how to write abstract, but this one I can say that is more comprehensive and more powerful than ever. It doesn't mean that the other one was not powerful, but I can tell our people here that if they go to SAR website, they will see most of your presentation in terms of how to write abstract, because this is the 3rd session that you are organizing. And we always publish everything on the website, and we send it also to people who attended the meeting. Let me also take the opportunity to inform them that at ICASA now the abstract, the maximum word is 250. It's 350. It's 350 words at ICASA. That they should bear that one in mind. It's no longer 500. It's 350 words for ICASA. And also, let me also inform them that ICASA platform, as you have said, is more than 10,000 people, because after the conference, we always publish all the abstracts on ICASA website. From the first ICASA to the 23rd edition, all the abstracts published are still on the SAR website. And at ICASA, we convene more than 220 countries, across the region. It's really an international gathering. Saying that, let me open the floor for the Q&A question.
Thank you very much, Luke. Just to note, I have a question here that says that how can you go about to give expected outcome when the study is still in progress but will soon be over? And to note that if your study is not completed, maybe it's the time for you to come to ICASA to listen and hear and learn from others to know how to do more with your result. But an abstract that has an incomplete result will not pass. You can fake results. I hope you know that as a researcher, and the public trusts you, so you can't fake results. You can present the result at the next ICASA. Know that ICASA happens every 2 years. As much as we want you to present the abstract, if you can't, the journal is there that you can share your findings. But no, if you don't have a result, to be able to prepare an abstract that will pass, it's not likely with SAP. Thank you. I don't know if there are any other questions on the platform.
We don't have any question, but if people have their question, they can raise their hand so that we can give them the floor. Another question from, yeah, we have a question from Adeleye. Adeleye, go ahead, please.
Are you sure he'll be able to speak? I think we have three.
Because we open for him. Let us take Adeleye first. Adeleye, can you go ahead?
Can you hear me, ma?
Yeah,
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma. Yes, ma, I wanted to ask, ma, what have been a situation where they did not really state the number of the words for the abstract? Should we just limit it to 300 or 250?
I didn't hear you. What's the question?
Can you write it down? Can you write it in the chat, please?
The question is, okay, I will type it in the chat box.
Yeah, just repeat it. Yes.
Because
so
I'll
interpret what I think I heard. Every conference will tell you the maximum words they have. So you must write concisely to fit the words. ICASA used to be 500 words. Now it's reduced to 350 words. So you write within the words available. Actually, one of the things you'll notice with technology, unlike in the past, is that the abstract submission sites will cut you off at the words. So if you write 600 words and you cut and paste, it will only take 350. So you have to learn to be concise. That's one of the challenges we as Africans may have to learn. We actually spend a lot more time saying many things that at the end of the day doesn't truly answer the question or speak to the questions. It takes practice. That's why you must allow people to read your abstract and advise you appropriately, so that it can be concise, and then you can meet the word limit. I hope I answered your question because I only tried to interpret what I thought I heard. I didn't hear you. I hope I answered your question. Over to you.
Can we take at least 3 more questions so that you can answer them? We can call for Lotadate. After Lotadate, we have Ogunta and Dr. James. Lotadate, can you go ahead with your question?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ok, moi, je pose la question en français. Hein?
Oui.
Ok, j'avais participé à ICASA en Zimbabwe et à la conférence internationale francophone sur le VIH à Yaoundé, j'avais y pris part. J'avais mon abstract qui avait été retenu sur la problématique de la qualité des données dans le processus continu de subvention VIH et TB au Tchad. Et j'avais présenté ça sous forme de poster. Ma question, c'est de savoir, est-ce que lorsqu'on vous autorise à présenter sous forme de poster ou bien à présenter en grand public dans la salle, est-ce que cela est dû à la qualité de l'abstract? Merci.
Luke, interpret, please.
Okay, thank you for your question. I'm sure that the professor taking note. Let us go to the second
No,
question?
can you interpret? Please do interpret for me,
Yeah,
please.
the interpretation is that he said that he has been allowed to have a poster presentation at ICASA and also oral presentation, and is asking if the two presentation is based on the quality.
Excellent question. Excellent question. Excellent question. I'll balance it this way. Usually the topmost goes into oral, but it's not always like that. What happens is that we get the best, okay, based on the number of sessions. That is the cutoff mark. But you must form a team. You must form a team with your abstracts. So you might end up having something scoring 6 and something scoring 4 coming together to form a team. What I can guarantee you is that the topmost abstracts get into ICASA. That's all. But it's not that it's only the 6s that get to oral. No. And the fact that you get a 6, if you're not following the teams, you might end up doing a poster. So what happens is that we try to pull teams together so that they have a common team and form sessions. So it's not a black and white. All you can guarantee is that whoever gets into ICASA was really good, But it doesn't mean that really good is only in oral. And there's no bad anyway, So it's that not that straight, but it's straight. Yeah. All right, I have 2 questions. Let me answer the 2 questions I have in the chat box. One says, is there a particular tense one used to write while writing? I think for most times when you're doing your abstract, when you're writing your results and methodology, it's a past tense. You've done it. It's work you've done. So you use was done. That for me is what I'll vote for. But I think if there's any tense you're going to use, you have to use it consistently. But if you've done your piece of work, it was done. You're not going to use it as if you're still going to do it in the present. So consistency of terminologies matter. But for me personally, when I'm writing these things, I use the past tense. Someone asked, is there funding opportunities for accepted abstract? Yes, we do, and I'll defer that also to Luke, but just to note that the scholarship opportunities, but the funding profile for ICASA is probably not like the typical internationals that you see, because with ICASA, there's a lot of investment of countries, hosting countries in ICASA itself. That is not the norm that you'll find with IAS or others, without wanting to name. Others usually raise funds heavily. ICASA raise funds heavily, but the government of the hosting country has a lot of investment in that process. And therefore, you tend to find the profiling of the scholarships skewed heavily to the local organizers because the government of the country will sponsor their own people to come. That does not exclude funding opportunities for external persons, and there's huge funding opportunity, but I'll defer to Luke to please answer that question. Let me take the last one that I have, and then Luke can answer the question. He says, ICASA is attended by a lot of people, as mentioned. One of the points that was mentioned during the presentation was to ensure that one identifies or writes for a targeted audience, or one should have primary audience. Can you kindly give guidance on what would be different between founder, director? No, I didn't say that. I said my presentation today was for this audience. Okay, and I was hoping I captured all the people, the different populations that will come. Whether you're a programmer or a researcher or a donor, you can do monitoring and evaluation. Whether you're an early career researcher or a programmer or a community person, you can do primary studies. So I did not say the target audience for ICASA was the least. I said my target audience for this presentation was the least I shared. And that if anybody did not feel, if I did not find themselves in that list, please stay on because there was something for you to learn. I hope that clarifies your question. Over to you, Luke.
Thank you so much, Prof. Let me first of all respond to the question on scholarship. at ICASA, every oral presenter has a direct scholarship, full scholarship during ICASA. Every ICASA, we give full scholarship to oral presenters in terms of abstract management system. But not only that, but there are some also, depend of the grade, there are some poster that come and say, you know, I have a poster, but I don't have scholarship. Can you help me to have accommodation, something like that? Then it's based on case, you know, case study. We see how we can help. Because generally we give full scholarship for oral presenter, but for abstract, it depends of if the presenter of a poster want us to support them in the pen. You know, maybe sometimes they call for accommodation, or sometimes they call for free registration, something like that. We come, but bear in mind that if your abstract has been accepted as oral abstract for ICASA, you have full scholarship. Saying that, Prof, let me call Walter. Walter Oguta, you have the floor for your question. Hello, Walter?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you for the presentation. The only question I have was concerning results and discussion. There was something you said, a certain results should not be put. I mean, I don't know whether you can go back to that slide talking about results and discussions, and of course the introduction where you said results should not be put that answers a certain question. But then I was wondering, if we are writing abstract, then how can that be put?
Yeah, because in an abstract, yes, I kind of guess what you're talking about with my presentation. Result is result. There's no discussion section in a result. In a manuscript, you have discussion. In your thesis, you have discussion. But in the result is result. I think you're referring to when I say things like your result is 23.3%, then you write it as 1 in 4. That's a discussion. That's an approximation. 23.3% is the result. So you present the result. So please note that your result, your abstract does not have discussion section. Remember, there's no discussion. And that doesn't give you the right to infuse discussion into the result. Because the abstract is really powerful. It's going beyond the conference. It's going beyond you. There are many people around the world that see it. And in many places, people quote results. So 1 in 4 is an assumption, is an approximation. 23.3 is the result, actually. I think this is what you're referring to. So yes, don't mix up discussion. When you get to your discussion, when you're writing your manuscript, remember once again, ICASA has a journal and you can send in your manuscripts there. You can't then say, oh, you noted that in the result, and approximately 1 in 4 people have diarrhea, TB. That's good discussion. Okay, but that's not results. Yes.
Just to ask you quick, what is this when we're talking about structured manuscript where there's the introduction, there's methods, do we have, and then there's the result, do we have discussion and conclusion, or there's no discussion?
I've said that severally. I said there's only 4 sessions. There's only background, method, result, and conclusion. I said that repeatedly. And there's only 4 sections in most abstracts for conferences. So once again, I noted that I am discussing extensively about the abstracts for ICASA conference. Please follow conference instructions. There are some conference abstracts that will tell you introduction, aim, methods, results, conclusion. Maybe there are some I've never met any. I've never in my life seen any. And I'm 58 years old for that matter. But there are.
Thank you, Prof. Let me just inform them that what we call in the call for abstract, we have the description of how the abstract should be presented. You have the methodology, you have all this inside. You know, they should read it carefully so that it can guide them to write and to present the abstract. Saying that, allow me to call Dr. James. Dr. James, you have the floor.
Yes, good evening or good morning from wherever you are. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My concern is about the quality of the reviewers of the abstract. What yardstick do you use to ensure that you have quality reviewers for the papers or for the abstracts you receive? Because you may have very good papers that are landing in people perhaps who are who have not had enough experience in the field review, and therefore, and this I'm talking from experience, I've seen some abstracts being given to, a few of my friends just because, they are directors or what, but when you look at the level of education or the experience in terms of research, it is not robust. So,
Can I, so I'll answer
abstracts,
that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think that's an excellent question. And
yes.
please note that at SAR, not one person reviews an abstract. You have a minimum of 3 and up to 5 people reviewing abstracts, and then they score. The second thing is that when they score, we look at the average and the confidence interval. Where the confidence interval is wide, we re-review at the meeting. So it's not just enough that, 5 people said, and one person scored 1 and another person said 6. Once you do 1 and 6, that's a wide confidence interval. At the face-to-face meeting, those abstracts are reviewed. So it's a thorough process. Thank you very much, sir. There's somebody that asked here also about the cost of the journal. If the journal is free, I'm going to defer to Luke. Yes.
Thank you, Prof. Let me say that for the beginning, I think Dr. Muya also is here with us on the panel. Hello, Dr. Muya, can you respond to that question?
Yes.
Dr. Muya, are you there? Okay.
You're...
It seems that he's not there, but
He's here,
Dr.
he's here.
Muya, please, can you respond to that question, please?
I don't recall the question.
Okay.
If it's APC free, if our journal is APC free.
Look, I think if I recall the conversation, I think regarding the APC fees.
I don't think it's free.
Yeah,
I don't. It's not free.
It's not it's free. I'm just trying to think of what we were suggesting as the fees applicable, but that is to be finalized with the hosting, publishing house. But to answer it, I think it's not free. The exact amount will then be determined because we are now in the final discussion with the hosting, the publishing house that will host the journal.
But just to add that that ICASA, we usually have competitions, and we have the best of abstracts every ICASA conference. I have a feeling, and I feel sure that the board will ask that those ones that win those competitions have free publications if their manuscript is accepted. So it's not just enough to, definitely all abstracts will be published in the journal. That's free. Okay, it comes at no cost to you. But then the full manuscript, for those that win those competition, I have a strong feeling the board will vet that those ones, once the abstracts are accepted for publication, no, it's a rigorous process, they might get the APC waiver. However, because the journal is going to run an open access journal,
the board and the committee for the journal have accepted that all the best abstracts, especially the oral abstract, will be published free. Because when we say free, somebody is paying the cost. SAR is paying the cost for them. And don't forget that we are giving them also $500, to support the writing of their research, their manuscript. It means that the 5 best abstracts for ICASA will always have free publication into the journal.
If they submit and get through the review process.
But now the problem is that we agree that every best abstract at ICASA should submit the manuscript before they get the $500.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Now we have one more question from Odi, from Bella. Hello, Bella, you have the floor. Hello, Bella, are you there? Serge Bertrand Bella, are you there? Okay, Serge Bertrand Bella is not there. Then let us, Prof, as we don't have any more questions, let me acknowledge the Vice President of Society for AIDS in Africa, Professor Shakru. You are welcome, Professor Shakru.
Good afternoon, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you very well. We're giving the floor to Bella, but it seems that she's not responding. Hello, Bella, are you there? It seems like she's not there. Okay, if let us take one more question so that we close. Now, Bella is not there. Can we give the floor to Charles?
Oh, Bella, il est là.
Ah, parce qu'on attendait, on l'appelait plusieurs fois, il ne répondait pas. Bella, are you there?
Oui, je suis là, je suis vraiment là.
Okay, Bella is there. Bella, you can go ahead.
OK.
Okay,
Bon,
please, can you go ahead, please,
oui,
proceed.
je suis Bella Odilon CH Bertrand. Je représente, je suis pour l'association Women in Development du Cameroun. Et là, j'avais quelques préoccupations concernant la soumission. Ça concerne la bourse. Et en même temps, ça regarde la façon de rédiger ce résumé. Le résumé, ça concerne nos activités que nous faisons ou alors il y a un thème spécifique sur lequel nous devons écrire. Si ça concerne nos activités d'habitude que nous sommes en train de faire, là, et à ce moment, vous allez nous expliquer pour que nous sachions comment soumettre demain ou après-demain. Parce que le projet, il est déjà dehors. Nous, la bourse, c'est d'ici août. Et maintenant, si ça concerne l'organisation, maintenant, comment est-ce qu'on va faire? Ce sera un résumé de groupe pour qu'on soumissionne et qu'on essaie de nous déplacer en groupe par association ou bien par ONG, parce que nous sommes ONG désormais. Comment est-ce que nous allons le faire? Ça, c'était...
Prof Morenike, if you allow me, let me call the Vice President of SAR to respond, because
Yes,
this question
please.
is in French.
Yeah.
Alors, merci beaucoup pour votre question. Si j'ai bien compris, donc vous êtes une ONG et vous voulez soumettre donc plusieurs abstracts ensemble, c'est ça?
Oui, effectivement, nous sommes un groupe. Nous sommes un groupe et nous soumettre ensemble. Déjà, nous voulons savoir sur quel thème nous devons faire. Ce sont nos activités passées. C'est vrai que le professeur était en train de parler au passé. Il disait que quand on soumet, il faut que ça soit au passé. D'accord. Maintenant, c'est sur quel thème de façon précise? Ce sont nos activités ou alors il y a un thème particulier? Ça, c'est ma question.
Ben, les thèmes, c'est en fait les thèmes qui sont abordés par ICASA, c'est-à-dire l'infection VIH, également les co-infections avec la tuberculose ou les autres co-infections avec les hépatites virales, les infections sexuellement transmissibles, les maladies émergentes. Ce sont les thèmes qui sont traités par ICASA. Bon, essentiellement, donc, le thème principal reste toujours le VIH-Sida. Et là, ce que vous allez présenter, pas spécialement vos activités, mais qu'est-ce que vous avez entrepris comme activité sur le terrain? Je prends un exemple. Est-ce que vos associations ont participé à des activités de dépistage sur le terrain? Est-ce que vous avez, par exemple, introduit le self-testing? Est-ce que vous avez contribué à faire le plaidoyer sur la PrEP? Ce sont des thèmes que vous allez faire. Ce n'est pas le rapport de votre activité, de l'activité de votre association, mais plus ce que votre association a contribué dans la riposte au VIH dans votre pays ou également dans votre région. Est-ce que j'ai été clair pour vous?
Oui, ça a été clair, mais je vais, si vous permettez, monsieur le vice-président, je vais ajouter.
Oui.
Oui, les thèmes sont généralement les thèmes des abstracts. Vous avez les thèmes des résumés, vous avez les abstracts, vous avez les sous-thèmes, vous avez les thèmes d'abstracts et les sous-thèmes d'abstracts. Vous avez 5 thématiques en abstract. Vous avez track A, track B, track C, track D et track I. Donc, si vous devez soumettre des abstracts à la SAR, ça dépend de ces sous-thèmes-là. Donc, il faut aller à la thématique sur l'école sur l'appel des abstracts et vous choisissez la thématique qui est spécifique à votre activité et vous soumettez votre abstract par rapport à ça. What I was saying is that for the submission of thematic for ICASA, it goes through, you have to respond to the 5 tracks that we have. We have 5 tracks. And you can see the title of every track, and you can see also the subtitle of every track. And you submit your abstract based on the title and the subtitle that you feel that you are comfortable with, depending on your activity that you are doing, depending on the research that you have done. Then you have to submit based on the abstract call that we send. We have 5 types. We have 5 abstracts. We have the track A, track B, track C, track D. Then if you want to submit anything, it's based on those abstracts. I think that we exhausted the time for this meeting, but we
Can
still
I
have one more
answer
question.
the last? No, I
We still
have two questions. I will
Okay.
answer very briefly here. One asks, do you have a dummy template that you can share as an abstract format? Please go to the ICASA website. If you are a member, you will have excellent access. If you're not, please come on board. There's still space to be members and get access to it. You would listen to the presentations and the format is there. The format, you will get it. It's just there. The format is there next to an app for a template to share. And it's a journal in Scopus. We are working towards Scopus. We're going to launch the journal at ICASA. All right. And yes, we're not the ones working. We're working with the publisher who's going to definitely get us on Scopus. On that note, I want to say thank you and hand over to Luke. Is there any question? Otherwise, it's been a beautiful day. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. We believe that we hosted a very good session today, and we don't have any more questions, but I just want to remind the participants that there's to consideration a few points that you mentioned here. You know, you mentioned about you were talking about the methodology, you were talking about the result and the conclusion. But one thing that is more important here is the title. You said that the title should be very attractive, and I wanted to add that the title should be also sexy, because attractivity and sexy, and when it's sexy, it can draw more attention. Saying that, I will give you the floor to close this session. If you have last point or any last, let us say, advice that you want to give to the participant, please go ahead for 2 minutes so that we close the session. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, I think thank you for all being here. We had 2,200 persons registered. Please, if you missed this presentation is accessible online. Please join. And when you come to ICASA, I'll be there. Just tap me and tell me I was at your session. Looking forward to that tap. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, the Vice President. Thank you, Dr. Muya. We believe that we meet all of you at the next ICASA in Ghana from 3rd to 8th December 2025. You are all welcome. If you have more questions, please send it to us via our info, southafrica.org, so that we can send it to our database. We can send it to Prof and other members of the committee. Thank you, Dr. Muya, for your time, and we wish to meet all of you again at ICASA in Ghana. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Prof. How are you, Prof? How's it, Prof. Mohammed?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Good to see
you, Prof. Morenike. Thank you very much for. I'm sure that you managed very well this session. I apologize.
Yes, as usual. As usual.
I had an urgent meeting
said
about
so.
Issues and financing my constituency in Global Fund. So
You
it
said
was.
so. You said so.
Yes,
Yeah, but it was nice to see you. I didn't know you were going to make it.
Me too.
Really
me
nice
too.
to see.
So how was the session?
I think it went well. Yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
it went.
It was good, but now that we are closing the session, if you have any other comment, we open another line for you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Very high
Bye-bye.
attendance, I
Bye-bye.
must say, Prof. More than 500.